Everybody, I'm just doing a recording. Let me just put this down here. Right. Um, I'm getting a little bit tired of this diversity shit. I'm a black person, and I know what it's like living on this planet. There's hardship, but you know, everybody experiences hardship the moment you come on this planet. Some people have it a little bit easier than others, but for other people, it can be difficult. But you learn to punch your way through life. You learn to survive and work, and it makes you a better person. If you don't get things handed to you, it makes you a morally better person. You know, what I mean. Look, if there is a God, I hope there is a God. You're going to be judged by the way behave, by the way you grab things that you know very well that it's been provided by other people. For instance, women get all this help in setting up businesses, especially in America, and yet men don't get these facilities. If we're supposed to be living in an equal society, then it needs to be, if it's equal in name, it needs to be equal in act. Otherwise, it's just nonsense. The feminist movement likes to say that it's about, feminist movement is about equality. It's not. The feminist movement, really, I'm going to be honest with you, it's never really been about equality. It's always been, it has been, and has always been about the superiority of the woman over man. That's what it's been about. And when you look back, it's been going on for like 200 years. Feminism, but look, everybody sacrificed, both men and women. If you look on the Americans, when they went out, yes, they killed a lot of Indians, and may God rest their souls. America is where it is at the moment. The American Indians that are alive today need to be helped. They are more deserving than anybody of help, of sorting out their situation. So when they protest of oil pipes or whatever or going through their sacred lands, they must be listened to. They must be listened to. And you find another way. Because you've encroached in their lands, decimated and literally destroyed them from, 26, 27 million of population down to 2 million now. Well, then most of them are not really pure as well now. But anyway, look, let's get on with what I've been reading on the site. Video games, how big is industry's racial diversity problem? Jesus Christ. This is the reason why I really, really hate feminism today. And feminism is a really horrible and nasty organization. Ideology. It's a horrible bastard ideology. And the reason why it's so, it's aligned itself to Marxism in a really, really heavy way, and to Satanism in a really. That's the reason why feminists are so bitchy and nasty. That's why feminists align themselves with witches. They see themselves as the witch, part of the witch movement. They see Eve as the original feminist because she did rail against Adam. She railed against God, and feminists think that's fantastic. So now we've got to a stage now where it says, how big is the industry's racial diversity problem? Let me tell you something. These white men who you hate on who set up this industry over the last, since I was 18, no, 15, 16. People like Steve Jobs, I can't remember how to pronounce his name, Wozniak, Microsoft, Bill Gates and his partner. People like even Zuckerberg. All these companies were produced by white males, middle class, intellectually based geniuses. Okay? Where are the women? Women have had 50 years of so-called freedom to express themselves since this is literally since the 50s. I've had over 50 years since the 50s. Yet we don't see a Musk, a female Musk. We don't see a female HP. We don't see a female Steve Jobs. Where are the rockets, the plasma drives, the incredible ships that so-called women are supposed to have designed by now? Where are they? There is nothing. They haven't done anything. They haven't produced anything. Oh, hold on a minute. They've redesigned. I saw somewhere the person who invented there's a device that it used to open up the vagina. It's now steel. It makes a little bit of a noise and clunky noise, which frightens women. This is a device which is used to examine a person to make sure that they're healthy. Hold on a minute, I'm just going to put you on pause. Sorry, I was interrupted by my mother wanting some bloody cream or some nonsense like that. Anyway, so what I'm saying is that there is no female, Elon Musk. There's no female Steve Jobs. But there was a team of female designers that have apparently redesigned this this item that they use to open up the female vagina, so that they can look into, you can look in easier. But because it's made of steel, it's very cool. I mean, look, it's been around for like nearly 150, 200 years, and it's now taken them this time to redesign it, and it's always about women. It's never about, let's design something for all of humanity. It's only about women. I mean, you look at, for instance, the vibrator. The vibrator was designed, I think, by a man for women. But again, women don't design things for the good of everybody. There's one thing I think might be, you could say, is the bicycle light that the Boris bikes now have. But that's, okay, it beams a light onto the road, but I think they're really insignificant, to be honest with you. They're not nothing that great, but they're a light. They do something, I suppose. But I mean, she was paid a lot of money for that. A lot of money. It's got to be into the thousands, if not millions of pounds. But for something that I don't particularly think is a fantastic invention, it only gets noted because it was produced by a woman, and that's it. But what else have women really produced that you could say is outstanding? Women have a lot of money today. A lot of single women. There's a lot of single women out there who have a lot of money. There are a lot of women who are working in the industry of, in the banks. They earn money. This 77 cents to the dollar, which Obama came out with, was a deliberate ruse by him to catch the white female vote. The white female vote. Why do you think they used 77 cents to the dollar? I'll tell you. Because he knows that that figure applies to white females. For instance, the Chinese or the Asian man earns, I think, $1.24. So he earns more than the white man who earns $1. The next person to the surprise is the Asian woman. She earns, I believe, 89 cents to the dollar. Then I think it's the black man who's earning something like 85 cents to the dollar. And then it's the white woman. So it's no wonder she's pissed. You know, the white woman in American society is the most entitled person on this fucking planet. Same thing with the Australian, same thing with the some of the Europeans, certainly with the French, Italians. These women, you know, Swedish women of the West are the most entitled women on this planet. You see, we're now starting to see the true figures, for instance, of domestic violence. Oh, sorry. Also, the Hispanic man gets 60 something cents to the dollar, and the black woman, I think gets 56 cents to the dollar, and then the Native American woman is the lowest paid of everybody. So it was a tactical decision by Obama to use that 77 cents, because that 77 cents is the white woman. Okay. Yet the Asian woman is doing much better. She's on 89 cents to the dollar. 89 cents to the dollar. So what this all says to me, this diversity, how big is the problem in the industry? It isn't a problem from my point of view. It's a problem for white women. You see, this all started because of that stupid fucking cunt, I can't remember, Cartesian, you know who I am talking about, who doesn't know nothing about video games, but decided to take on the video game industry. But you know what? The video game industry bit back. She wasn't expecting it. But she used it to her advantage, to claim victimhood. Oh, look at these people, they're threatening me. They're sending me letters to kill me. I need protection from the police, who is part of the patriarchy, but I need protection from them. Okay? She got something like £150,000 on one of the, I can't remember, it's the Patreon or whatever it is, to say she was going to make 4 videos. Or was it 4 games? I don't know what it was. It's just, it's blatant shit. Blatant lying. This is what feminists are about. So the feminist industry is still not finished with the gaming industry. I saw another BBC report about there was like 5 or 6 of these feminists, lesbian bitches, who were part of the EA gaming program, where EA have actually set up a female-only competition, because these bitches were complaining that there were very few women who were in the main gaming arena. I mean, some of these guys can make £2 million, winning the competition. And they were complaining that there weren't enough women in there. So they set up their own separate one for women, and the prize there is 179,000, and they're complaining. Even though there's less of women in that industry, side of the industry, again, they feel that they should be getting the same money as the men. Even though there's not that many girls in that hardcore side of the gaming industry. So it's the same with tennis. If you look at tennis, women play 3 sets of tennis, and yet when Wimbledon was paying female, they were paying them in proportion to the amount of sets they were playing. They were actually being fair. They weren't being sexist, they were being fair. And yet every time they roll, white males roll over and paid the women the same money, rather than saying, okay, what we'll do is we'll reduce the amount of sets that the men make and reduce the money to what the women are. That would have been better. But instead, they decided to pay the women the same money for playing less sets. When the gentleman who said that the female tennis association should be bloody grateful that they're riding off the coattails of the male sport, the game, he resigned because he said something that was the truth, and women don't like that. Look at that issue with John McEnroe when he was told, when he was questioned, and he, again, the feminist movement always try and hook men and try and throw them under the bus. When he said that when he was asked what did you think of Serena Williams as a tennis player, and he said, she's pretty, for a female, she's the best there's ever been. And the lesbian feminist bitch who was questioning him said, no, why do you say that when everybody, why can't you say that she's actually the best tennis player of all time? And John was a little bit taken aback because you could hear it. Or you mean, best, or of the male and the female? And when he said that, it's out there on the video, you can find it on YouTube. When he said, she wouldn't really make the top 700, he said that out of annoyance, really, out of frustration, that this question is constantly bloody asked every time. They've been wanting him to play against Serena Williams for ages. This woman is 32, 33. John McEnroe's coming out, he's 58 now. The guy is still fit as a fiddle. And he probably would I'd love to see him play. He may, but they'd have to play the full set. But if Serena Williams beat him, it wouldn't mean that she's a better player than him. It means that she's beaten an older, much older, middle-aged man, who's coming up to retirement. It's the same when they had that stupid game with Billie Jean King and the other guy. He was 55, she was 29. For fuck's sake, man. But when they had Connor playing, that Latranova or whatever, and they even skewed it towards her, she still lost. She lost. When Serena Williams and her sister played against this other guy, who was in the was it top 50 or 200, whatever, he whipped their asses. So don't get me wrong, Serena Williams would kill 3/4 of the guys in the world in tennis. But when you come up to the elites, if you look at the men, the way they play their tennis, look how fit they are. These guys aren't big hulking juggernauts. Serena Williams is a big hulking juggernaut. She intimidates other women when she plays. Yet if you look at the other girls, they're not anywhere near the same size as her. She's a big brute of a woman. in comparison to the other females that play. Okay. Whereas if she was to go into the men's and play 5 sets, she wouldn't last long. If you look at Nadal used to be really, really muscular when he was 18, 19, when he was playing, but he got injured really, really badly, easily, because of the amount of muscle that he had. He was too big for the game. You look at him now, he's pared down, really, really thin. He doesn't carry the same weight. He's now the same size as Djokovic, as Roger Federer is, because that's that's the weight you've got to be when you play tennis. It's not about tons and tons of muscle. It's about much more denser, smaller, like a supernova, more compact, concentrated muscle. So, as you can see, I've been waffling on. Just because I really don't like all this, the feminist movement wants to either destroy the gaming industry or force the gaming industry to hand over the industry to women. Okay. And when they hand over the game to women, they will play the games that they feel that women want to play. But women want to play the games. Like, for instance, this game you see here with this woman, the new one. Do women really want to play this particular game with her? Will it make a difference? Will this become a roaring success? I don't know. We have to wait and see. Let's go through it. When Uncharted: The Lost Legacy was released this year, it gained a lot of attention. Yeah, not because it's for a popular. Sorry, not because it is the latest installment for a popular franchise. It stood out for another reason. The game was set in India, had 2 lead women. One of them, Nadine Ross, is a black South African. There's a lot of black lesbians in South Africa that I've noticed. Anyway, other big releases this year include Assassin's Creed Origins, which is set in Egypt with an African protagonist. So, while Star Wars Battlefront 2 used the likeness and voice of whatever this person is, an actress with part Indian heritage. I mean, look at the face on that. Just look at her face. See, it just bloody annoys me when I look at that face. It's really annoying. But speaking to BBC Asia Network, Joe Twist, executive of UKE, the trading body for the UK's games industry, said there was still a long way to go before video games could be truly representative of the gaming audience. But that's fucking bollocks. I mean, if you look at Grand Theft Auto, it has black guys in there, it has white guys in there, it has women in there. I mean, what more do you want? It's. Let's read through this. I mean, does anybody say whether Star Wars Battlefront is a good game? Is it a good game? It would be interesting to know whether it's a good game with all this stupid inclusiveness. Let's read on. She's again, it's a woman. There you go. She says there's not enough game designers from black or Asian backgrounds working, and that this is reflected in what we are playing. So fucking what? I'm sorry, if black people are not in there, Asian people are not in there, I would suggest to you, black and Asian people, if you want to be included in these games, get off your fucking arse, learn how to fucking code, learn how to play the games, get deep into the games, start writing your own games, like Spike Lee. Spike Lee made a film predominantly of black people. It was very successful when it first came out. Okay. If you want to be inclusive in the game industry, produce a game that will become successful, will become noticed by everybody out there, and then more and more other people will get into this over time. This needs to be done organically. If you try and force the industry to include people consistently, even 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the line, things will start showing to be a problem. Things will show to be a problem. People need to be included, but it needs to be done fairly, and really, whether people want to include, they shouldn't have to be forced to include people. And if the persons are no good at producing games, why should they be brought in just because they can do a little bit of coding, but they're not really up to scratch when it needs to, when you've got some really good coders out there. I think Google or some companies do blind programming. So they will have, when they're doing the interviews, they don't know who is doing the programming. And when they choose the programmers from the blind programming, they don't know whether they're male or female. They found that predominantly, even when they do the blind programming, the men still shine through. They don't know that they're men. They don't know that they're women, yet they still shine through. What does that say? It means that some of these people, if they really want to be coders, they need to be better and learn their craft far, far better. It's as simple as that. There has not been a lot of research done on racial representation in games. Who gives a shit? I don't care. Mario is white, so what? And his brother is white, so what? Mario was a game produced by a Chinese company and used a white character, so what? And yet, look at it, it's become very successful. The most up-to-date figures for employment in the games industry in the game industry though are from a 2015 creative skill set survey. Who gives a shit? It suggests only 4% of game developers in the UK come from black or Asian backgrounds. So what? What is it you want to achieve? If black and Asian people are, I don't know what the percentage of black and Asian people are in this country. Is it 5, 10, 15%? I mean, even if it's 10% of the population, are you saying that black people and Asian people there must be 10% in the industry? Or are you saying that there must be 50% of black and Asian people in the industry? And then there must be 50% of women in the industry. I mean, this is just getting silly. It really is. That's down from 4.7% in 2012, and below the national average of 10% across the whole. Right. So they're saying if it's dropped to 4.7%, it means that they're not going into the industry. Maybe across the board everything has dropped. Maybe the amount of white men that are unemployed has dropped. And below the national average of 10% across the sectors. So what? It doesn't bother me. It's gone down by 7%. It's up to the black and Asian community to get off their backsides if they themselves want to be in the game industry. The appeal of gaming is huge. 21 million people play games in the UK. About half of them are women. Fine, but what games are they playing? Is it the Uncharted, or is it the Grand Theft Auto, or is it the Star Wars? I mean, what are they playing? We don't know. And 27% of them are over the age of 44. Okay, fine. But are these women, if half the population of are these women producing games themselves? Are they producing games that they want to behave specifically for women? Because that's what this is about. The game industry needs to be changed so that they produce specifically for women, especially white women. That's what the feminist movement wants to do. They want it no longer specifically to be about white males. It must be about white women. This ruse about, the ethnic minority is just a load of shit. That's a smokescreen. You need to know the history of the feminist movement. The feminist movement was set up by middle class white females who saw themselves as superior to their male counterparts. Plain and simple. They saw themselves as superior to their male counterparts. They said, oh, they're superior. They're as superior as their male counterparts. Well, why didn't they put in, when they were banging on about the vote, why didn't they put in that they wanted to go into the army and fight on the front lines just like the men? They weren't pushing for that. They weren't pushing for the draft. They were only pushing for votes for women. Nothing else. The appeal, we've already gone through, sorry. Globally, 2.2 billion people. 2.2 billion people play games in some form, and it's an industry that continues to grow. We asked four industry insiders from black and minority ethnic backgrounds if gaming had a diversity problem. I'm telling you that it doesn't. It's up to the black community, up to the Asian community. If they want to be part of the game industry and they really truly want to see themselves represented, they have to produce their own games for themselves. Look at this stupid witch. Journalist and game developer. Bloody pop-nosed, long horse-faced bitch. The video games industry is not fine as it is. So there you go, feminist hag. The racial background figures show it is not representative. The problems widen out to class and gender too. So this is again the feminist game they play. They always add class and gender. So across the board there is a diversity issue. There is no diversity issue. If you women, white women, black women, Asian women want to get into the game industry, learn how to code, learn how to produce the games, and produce the games that you want. Set up your own businesses for yourselves. Don't go into the game industry directly. Set up your own businesses, get your own offices, and produce your own games. Don't wait for the white male to do all the hard work, all the heavy lifting, and then you then expect to walk in and have a desk at the table without doing any real contribution. It's nonsense. Perhaps it's getting better in terms of representation in the games themselves, but it is quite easy. Here we go. For an all-white male team to put a woman of colour in the lead and think job done. Yeah, I think it is. I think it is good for them to say fucking job done, because at the end of the day, the sentence. But it's quite easy for an all-white male team to put a woman of colour in the lead. It says it all in that sentence. They have gone out of their way, maybe a group of white men who are friends, they know each other, they work together, maybe they've worked in the industry, and then they decided to set up their own business because they know how to produce games, they know how to design games, they know about gameplay, and they said, right, let's produce a game with the women. And instead of praising them and saying, great, thank you for producing. They're bitching. They're bitching because the team was all white. And very important, male. What we really want is people from minority communities in these teams. So we know that, there you go. These teams was produced by white males, set up by white males, with their money, with their effort, and their tears. And listen to what they say. What we really want is people from minority communities in these teams. No, fuck off. If you want to produce games, if you really have a hunger for producing games, set up your own business. Set up your own minority teams of black women, white women, and whatever it is you want to set up. But don't expect a team of all white, maybe 4 or 5 men who set up their own business, to employ black people. They don't have to. If they want to, that's entirely up to them. And it should be entirely up to them. Involved in the creative process, and then also in senior positions to change the face of the industry. Why? Why should we? Listen, the gold standard, whether people like it or not, is the white male. The white male has produced everything right up to us taking us to the moon. The Chinese man didn't do it. The Indian man didn't do it. The black man didn't do it. The white man did. And I have no problem in praising him for that, because he has achieved that. You know. So this, this is we need. She's saying they want to force the industry to take on any Tom, Dick, and Harry into the industry, and force people into the boardroom, which is what this is the feminist movement talking here. And traditionally, games have primarily been advertised at teenage boys, particularly white middle class teenage boys. That's fuckery bollocks. That's fuckery bollocks. Yes, it has been advertised. On TV, you'll see a white boy. What you've got to understand is that back in the 80s, when I was a young lad, the majority of people are white. So they're going to have a white person sitting there. And if it was white boys that are playing computer games, girls were still playing with dolls. Some girls were still playing with dolls. Then they're going to use a white gingerhead boy, freckle boy, playing on a BBC B or ZX Spectrum. But who gives a fuck? Who cares? And it wasn't always particularly white middle class. But even if it was, who gives a shit? You then start to see this cycle of white middle class men making games that reflect themselves. Good. And so it should do. Because they're the ones who are producing the fucking things. What are you doing? You're not producing anything. But you want them to produce games for you specifically. And then when they do, you moan. Oh, it's an all-white male team. Which means characters in games don't look like that black or Asian kid. I don't give a fuck. In the inner city London or Leeds, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. These Asian blacks and kids, get off your fucking arse. Set up your own businesses. Start trying to use some of that stupid grey matter that's not being used. That muscle up in your head a little bit. Stop looking at the guns and the knives and whatever. If you're in that situation, try and get yourself out of that situation. Don't get involved in that situation. You know? Not everything in life is easy. Not everything in life is easy. So it perpetuates this homogeneous industry, and it's exactly the same in terms of gender. Blah, blah, blah. It's about including a broad range of voice and experience in your game so that people from different backgrounds see themselves represented. DC Comics, Marvel Comics are going through a period of shit because they are trying to diversify their business. there was a picture of I think it was Marvel Comics. I think it was it DC. I can't remember. And there was five or six women in there. And is this where the industry is going? That we've now got to get rid of all the talented male people that are in the industry, just to put women in there for the sake of it? Because if you do, your industry is going to be ruined. And what you're going to see is white males are going to go up, set up their own businesses, make up their own comics. Okay, and then what's then going to happen? You know, they're going to say, you know what, we're not going to employ any women in our business. We're tired of employing women because every time we employ them, they cause problems in our industry. You know, in what we're doing. This Harvey Weinstein situation, women, you need to look at this and say to yourself, if you keep up with this witch hunt, you will find in the future, because these guys are, you know, groveling, they're now, you know, crying and saying they're sorry for what they're doing. There's a few of these people saying that, and yet there are men who are standing there looking at this and saying, you know what, this is too much hassle and grief. I'm not going to employ any women in my business. I'm not going to have any connection with women in my business. Yes, the behaviour of some of the bad guys will change, but the innocent guys who go about their business, who do look after people, you know, help women, they are going to say, fuck this, I could be next. Men, you need to start looking after yourself. Women can look after themselves. You need to start looking after yourself, setting up your businesses and employing males and males only. It's as simple as that. That is important because it might make them think that they can also come up with a cool story for a game with people who look like them. Why can't they come up with a cool story with a game without that? Why do they have to? Why does the white man have to produce a game so that a black person or an Asian person can then go, oh, look, there's me in this game. I see myself in. It's the same with the BBC diversity. That I like. What's his name? Is it Lenny Henry? But I don't like the way that Lenny Henry seems to be pushing heavily this so-called what the BBC must have diversity within the industry. It needs to organically change itself in its own way, in its own time, just like any other industry. All black people need to become more intelligent in the way that they go about getting the kind of jobs that they need to get into. You know, I mean, let's get back to this. I'm seeing things change though. Uncharted's Negin Ross was amazing for me because she has got curly afro hair. Fucking hell. There are more black leads coming through, but we just want to encourage even more diversity and more voices of young people who may otherwise think the industry is not for them. You know, the thing that makes me laugh is that Grand Theft Auto is a game that has black characters, and absolutely nobody complained about this. Nobody made any issue about this. Okay, it's, you know, in Grand Theft Auto, there are other games that I see where there are black males and nobody complains about it. But there are women in there as well, black women, white women. Why do we have to always spoil a good thing? The industry is going to be spoiled by women if this continues. But as an industry, we have to make the message clear that the door is open for everybody to tell their stories. The door has always been open. It's just what the problem with the black community and the Asian community and the minority community is that they always put their hand out. They always want everything built for them first, so that the chairs are there, the computers are there, everything is there for them, and then they expect them to be employed straight away in the industry, rather than they themselves producing this themselves. That's what the problem is. They're incapable of doing this themselves, so they need the white man to do it for them. That's where the problem is. Then we've got this other stupid bitch producer. The industry recognises there's an issue with diversity, but it has been working hard to improve. Don't see why it should do. It starts at the root. You need, for example, startups that make it a core value to hire diverse teams. Fine, but only the best. Not just because there's a woman, you've got to make up in them. Oh, we've got to employ this person who may only just be able to code something. You know, you must have the right people. And if there's only a small pool of people you can choose from, it's not their fault. It's up to the communities to start, going out of their way to produce proper programmers. If it's a value they hold from the beginning, it's something they can maintain and build from. Load of shit. But it's an issue for established game studios as well. No, it isn't. If you are targeting a worldwide release, if you don't have people from all walks of life contributing to it, then something is going to be missed. What a load of fucking shit. Mario was a game that has a white Italian with his brother in the game, produced by a Japanese company. It's become one of the most successful video games in the history of gaming. The statement she made there was just a load of shit. Absolute load of shit. As a British Asian female working in the industry, there have been some challenges. What? You're an entitled fucking bitch who expects everything to be put on a plate for you. One example is a project I worked on where we were selecting 6 characters to be the faces of the game. At first, everyone in the room chose 6 white characters. So, there you go. I had to point out that none was black or Asian. Who gives a fuck? Who cares? Who's worried about that? It hadn't been considered to be an important factor, but it should have been as changing it made the characters more relatable to many players. The point is, though, the question has to be asked: was the project a better project because of it? And did it make any difference? Is the game any better? Jobs in the game industry also seem to be taken more seriously by the British Asian community. It's not a profession that's traditionally encouraged. So what? We need to go back into our communities and schools and say, look, I'm an Asian fucking bitch that makes games, that's awesome, and you can do it too. What games have you produced that's really awesome? What games? To be able to say that to other Asian kids who love playing games but have not considered it as a career would help. But what games, if you're a producer and you're that good, why haven't you set up a team of Asian women who can produce games that include the people that you want? It's nonsense. Now listen to this guy. I think that's a Japanese company. I can't remember, of Europe. He's a social media manager. Now let's read through this. The guy. I do not think there's a diversity a problem in the gaming industry. God, thank God, someone talking common sense. I do not think there is a diversity problem in the gaming industry. So this is where you've heard two women who do what they do best, which is bitch and moan. Women are very good at that. Not all. Intelligent women who understand the dynamics of human beings and everything else don't do the bitching. But when you get two stupid bitches like you've seen there already, they're the ones that bitch, whine, are in an entitled feminist slangs. Here is a guy who's just said something with common sense. I do not think there is a diversity problem in the gaming industry. It is a very welcoming industry, and small too, so everyone knows each other. I can only go by my experience, and I know quite a few British Asians in the industry, so I feel there is a diversity within the creative side of things. There you go. What's the problem? I know that 2K and Nintendo have South Asian staff as well. So Nintendo, which is a Japanese company, probably in Japan will have predominantly Asian staff. There won't be any black people or white people, very few, if any. Rockstar Games is a huge studio. I think that's the one that produced the Grand Theft Auto. And if you check the credits on their games, like Grand Theft Auto, you will see Asian and Pakistani names there. The roles they have are seldom public facing, so maybe that's why there's a perception of there being a problem. Can I get with common sense? Companies can always do more to improve diversity, but I think you just pick the best talent and put background and race aside. Well said, my man. You will find a mix of people come into the industry. In terms of the content we're seeing, the industry is still in its infancy, but we have seen great strides. We have seen Asian characters in games like Asian Creed, The Order 1886, and this year's Uncharted. Yeah, right. I'm not saying that about him. I'm just saying this bloody Uncharted bollocks. I don't think there will ever be a pushback from including more diverse content, but it just needs to be made. It just needs to make sense to do it. Precisely. Because if you force it through, the games are going to be shit. Just like what's happening with the comic industry, with them trying to, include diversity. It's producing shitty comics, and nobody wants to read them because the people who are reading them were predominantly white males, and they're just saying they're not interested in it. The white females are not reading them. Stupid nonsense. Doing it just for the sake of it will come across as disrespectful. But it's more like stupid, to be honest. Then it says chairman of Black Asian Minority Ethnic Blaine in Games Network. Okay, so you can see he's an Asian guy. And there is a problem, but I think it's not with the industry itself, but that not enough people from a wide enough range of backgrounds are applying, which is what I was saying before. If you're not going to go into the industry, you're not going to get into, because look, the Black and Asian community, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's small. It's about 5 to probably 10% of the whole UK industry. So if they're not applying to go into the industry, how can you expect them to be there? He's fantastic. I love that. There is a problem, but I think it's not with the industry itself, but that not enough people from a wide enough range of backgrounds are applying. Exactly. This is not just an ethnic minority issue. Generally, video games still suffer from the label of not being a proper job to a lot of people. So there you know. But when you reflect this into the minority communities, it's amplified. Being from an Indian family, picking a career in the video game industry can be a complete no-no. Luckily for me, I was headstrong. Exactly. I did what I wanted to do, but not many people can escape family pressure. Up until recently, video games have often suffered bad publicity as well, which has helped to create a negative perception. To improve diversity into studios, we need more mentors and people to relate to. So if someone looks like me, they can say, okay, I can get a job there because someone who looks similar to me has been successful. It's important not to underestimate how important this is, blah, blah, blah. Solutions we are working on include creating incumbent centres where we can develop talents from different backgrounds. What I would not encourage is any kind of segregation. But if targeted work helps attract people who otherwise might not join, that can only be a good thing. Look, if they never thought about joining the gaming industry in the first place, even if they may be playing the games, why are you trying to force them to come in? They need to go into this industry. If they've got enthusiasm and they really want to come in, these are the people that you really want. We don't want to just go in to a school and say to a girl, oh, we think you should be a gamer and you should start playing games. She may not even have the talent to do that, or even maybe not want to even play the games that some of these people are playing. But if she does, fine. But she still may not be good enough to be a gaming programmer. You know, this has to be done in an organic way. This diversity shit is just going to cause a lot of nonsense. Does racial diversity in video games matter? No, it doesn't. It's nonsense. Oh God. So there you have it. Two bitches. There you go. There's the horse. There's another stupid little bitch, and geezer, top geezer man, and another top geezer. Both talking sense. Guys always talk sense with logic. Women always talk nonsense a lot of the time. Anyway, I'm not really bothered what anybody thinks about it, but I'm just putting my 2 pennies worth about it. There isn't a problem in the industry. It's a problem with other people. If they don't want to come into the industry, it's entirely up to them. Anyway, thanks for listening.